Eli was only 14, but life had already taught him more pain than most grown people ever knew. He was a quiet, thin boy with messy dark hair and soft eyes that always looked tired. He had no parents, no home, and no warm bed waiting for him anywhere. His world was a small space under an old bridge at the edge of the city, where the cold wind passed like a stranger who did not care. Every morning, Eli woke up to the sound of cars and footsteps above him. He picked up empty bottles, cleaned the street for coins, and tried his best to stay invisible. People walked past him as if he was not real. Some looked away, some frowned, and some acted like he did not exist. But even after everything, Eli never became bitter. He still believed that kindness mattered. He still believed helping others was important, even if no one helped him. That evening, the sky turned red as the sun set between tall buildings. Eli sat under the bridge, eating a small piece of bread he saved from earlier. The city lights slowly came alive, and the streets grew noisier. He hugged his old jacket tighter, protecting himself from the cool air. He felt lonely, but he was used to it. In his heart, he always told himself, maybe tomorrow will be better. Just then, he heard something unusual, a sharp scream. At first, he thought it was just the loud city noise. But then he heard it again, clearer this time, a girl's voice filled with fear. Eli stood up fast. The scream came from the street across from a small repair shop. People nearby turned their heads, confused but too scared to get close. Eli ran toward the sound without thinking. When he reached the shop, he saw thick smoke rising from inside. Flames danced behind the cracked windows. A young girl, no older than 10, was trapped behind the door. She pressed her hands against the glass, coughing and crying. Eli's heart raced. He did not know who she was. He did not know what caused the fire. But he knew one thing: she was in danger, and nobody else was moving. 2 adults stood near the sidewalk shouting for help but not stepping forward. Others recorded videos with their phones. Some yelled, "Someone call the fire department," but no one went into the burning building. Then the girl screamed again, "Please, someone help me." Eli didn't wait. He dropped his bread on the ground, pulled his jacket tight around his hands, and ran straight toward the door. The heat hit him like a wall. Smoke wrapped around him so fast that his eyes burned and watered. He could barely breathe. But he pushed the door open with his shoulder, using all his strength. Inside, the fire was louder than thunder. Flames crackled on the walls. Smoke covered everything like a dark blanket. Eli kept his eyes half closed and called out, "Hey, I'm here. Don't be scared." The girl answered with a weak voice, "I am here." He followed the sound until he found her crouched behind a fallen shelf. She was shaking, her face blackened by smoke. Eli knelt beside her and placed his jacket over her head. "Hold on to me," he said gently. "I'll take you out." The girl wrapped her small arms around his neck, trusting him completely. Together, they moved slowly toward the doorway. Eli felt the heat growing stronger. His lungs hurt. His eyes stung badly. But he kept going. He kept telling the girl, "It's okay, almost there, don't let go." Just a few steps before they reached the exit, a loud cracking sound came from above. Eli looked up. A burning wooden beam was falling toward them. He quickly pushed the girl forward, using his arm to shield her. The beam landed beside him, sending a burst of hot smoke into his face. The smoke hit his eyes hard. It felt like fire touching them directly. Eli cried out in pain but did not stop. He pushed the girl again until she reached the open air. People on the street gasped as the little girl stumbled out coughing. A man rushed forward and carried her to safety. But when they looked back, Eli was still inside. Eli tried to follow the light coming from the doorway, but everything suddenly turned blurry. He blinked again and again, but the world became dark. His eyes burned like they were full of sand. He reached out for something to hold, scared and confused. Someone outside shouted, "There's a boy in there! Get him out!" A firefighter ran inside and pulled Eli out just before the ceiling collapsed. Eli lay on the ground, coughing, shaking, unable to open his eyes. A woman tried to talk to him, but he could not see her. Everything was dark. The little girl cried, "Dad, he saved me, Dad, he saved me." Her father, Ryder, a strong biker with a leather jacket, arrived moments later. He held his daughter close, tears in his eyes. Then he looked at the boy who risked everything to save her. Ryder had no idea who this boy was. But he would soon learn the truth, and what he and his entire biker group, the 300 Hells Angels, did next would change Ellie's life forever. Eli woke up in the hospital the next morning, but the world around him was still dark. He could hear the soft beeping of machines, the quiet footsteps of nurses, and the whispering voices outside his room. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not see even a single shape. He blinked again and again, hoping his sight would return, but the darkness stayed. It felt like a heavy curtain had fallen between him and the world. A nurse noticed he was awake. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said softly. "You're safe now." Eli tried to open his eyes wider. Why can't I see?" he asked in a shaky voice. She paused for a moment, trying to find gentle words. "Your eyes were hurt from the smoke. The doctors are doing everything they can. Just rest for now." Her calm voice helped a little, but Ellie felt fear growing inside. For a boy who lived on the streets, being blind was more frightening than the fire itself. At least before, he could see danger coming. Now he didn't even know how big the room was, or where the door stood. He felt lost. Eli lifted his hands and touched the blanket, feeling the soft fabric under his fingers. He was grateful to be alive, but he wondered what his life would become now. How will I survive like this, he thought. Meanwhile, outside his room, the hallway buzzed with voices. Ryder, the biker whose daughter Eli had saved, was talking to doctors, asking questions again and again. "What's happening with the boy?" Ryder asked, his voice filled with worry. The doctor replied. He inhaled heavy smoke. His eyes were damaged. "We don't know yet if his sight will return." Ryder closed his eyes for a moment, feeling a deep ache in his chest. This boy, this complete stranger, ran through fire to save his daughter. Ryder felt grateful, but he also felt guilty. His daughter was safe, but this brave boy paid a terrible price. Inside the room, Eli heard footsteps entering. He sat up quickly, hands gripping the sheets. He didn't know who it was. A deep voice said, "Hey kid, it's okay. I'm not here to scare you." Eli recognized the voice. It was the same man who held the girl outside the burning shop, the girl's father. "I'm Ryder," he said warmly. "You saved my daughter. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." Eli smiled weakly. "I'm glad she's okay." Ryder watched the boy carefully, his small hands, his thin arms, the bruises on his skin, the fear hiding behind his calm words. "Were you alone out there?" Ryder asked gently. Eli nodded. "Yes, I always am." Those words hit Ryder like a punch. A boy this young, alone in the world, walking into fire to save someone he didn't know. Ryder took a deep breath. "You're a hero, kid. A real one." Eli shook his head. "I'm not, I just heard her crying." Ryder wanted to hug the boy, but he didn't want to scare him. Instead, he said, "My daughter wants to see you. When you feel ready." But outside the hospital walls, not everyone believed Eli's story. Some people online were questioning the video and asking why a homeless boy was near the store at that time. A few doubters claimed he might have been involved. Rumors grew quickly, spreading like small flames of doubt. One nurse whispered to another, "Some people think he was part of the trouble." Eli heard the comment through the door, even though they thought he couldn't. His heart sank. Why do they always think the worst of me, he wondered. When Ryder came back later, he found Eli sitting quietly, head down. "What's wrong?" Ryder asked. Eli tried to hide his voice. "People think I was part of the fire." Ryder's jaw tightened. "That's not true, and I won't let anyone lie about you." But Eli had lived long enough to know how the world treated homeless kids. People believed rumors before truth. They judged before understanding. Ryder sat on the chair beside him. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I'm going to find out what really happened, every detail. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did." Eli stayed silent, but a tear rolled down his cheek. He quickly wiped it away before Ryder could notice. Later that day, Lily entered the room holding her father's hand. She walked slowly and carefully, her small steps quiet on the floor. She said softly. Ali turned his head toward her voice. "Are you okay?" She moved closer and held his hand. "You saved me," she whispered. "I was so scared." Ali squeezed her hand gently. "I'm happy you're safe." Lily looked at her father. "Dad, can we help him?" Ryder nodded, but he didn't answer out loud yet. Eli felt a strange warmth in his chest. Someone cared. Someone saw him. Not as a problem, not as a stranger, but as a human being. Still, he couldn't escape the fear inside him. What if his sight never returned? What if he had to go back to the streets blind? How would he survive? The fire had taken his vision, but it had also opened the door to something new, something he didn't understand yet. Outside the room, Ryder made a quiet promise to himself. "I won't let this boy suffer alone. Not anymore." He had no idea how big this promise would grow or how many people it would reach, because soon, the entire biker community, the legendary 300 Hells Angels, would hear about the boy who ran through fire, and everything in Eli's life was about to change forever. The next few days passed slowly for Eli. Even though the hospital room was warm and safe, he still felt trapped inside a dark world. He tried to count the steps from his bed to the chair, from the chair to the window, but it was difficult. His hands shook whenever he stood up. Everything felt unfamiliar. Everything felt uncertain. Sometimes, nurses would guide him gently. Sometimes they spoke to him with kind voices. But when they left, the silence felt heavy. Eli could hear other patients laughing or talking through the walls, reminding him he was alone again. The doctor visited him every morning. One day, he sat beside Eli and said carefully, "Your eyes were badly injured by the smoke. We can try treatments, we can try medicines, but we cannot promise you will see again." Eli nodded slowly. He tried to be brave, but the words sank deep inside him. His life had already been hard, and now it had become even harder. Outside the hospital, Ryder spent every hour searching for answers. He drove his motorcycle from one witness to another, asking what they saw that night. The fire department told him the fire started because someone threw a burning object into the shop's window. It was not an accident, it was an attack. Ryder felt fire rising inside his chest. "Someone targeted that shop," he muttered, "and a child almost died." He looked at the security camera footage again and again. The video was clear. Eli had run into the flames without hesitation. No fear, no doubt, just pure courage. Ryder felt deep respect for him. This boy wasn't just brave, he was selfless. Meanwhile, whispers continued to float around the hospital. Some people still questioned the story. 2 visitors in the hallway said loudly, "Why was a homeless kid near the shop so late? Something feels strange." Eli heard them from inside his room. He lowered his head and placed his hands over his ears. Those words hurt more than the smoke ever did. He remembered nights when people chased him away from store entrances or told him he wasn't welcome anywhere. He remembered the cold, the hunger, and the fear. He had always been judged for being poor. Now he was being judged even for saving a life. When Ryder returned that afternoon, he noticed Eli sitting stiffly on the bed, shoulders tight. "You heard people talking, didn't you?" Ryder asked. Eli didn't answer. "You didn't do anything wrong," Ryder said firmly. "You risked your life for my daughter, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth." Eli felt a tear slip down, but he quickly wiped it away. "Why do people think bad things about me?" he whispered. Ryder's eyes softened. "Because some people look with their eyes, not with their hearts. But I look with both." Later that evening, Lily visited again. She walked quietly into the room carrying a small paper bag. "I brought you something," she said with a bright smile. Eli turned toward her voice. "What a sandwich." "Dad said the hospital food is boring." Eli laughed softly for the first time in days. "Thank you." Lily sat beside him. "Do your eyes still hurt?" "A little," he replied gently. "But it's okay. I'm used to things being hard." Lily frowned. "I don't want things to be hard for you." Her simple words touched him more deeply than she knew. When she left, Ryder stayed behind. He looked at Eli with a serious expression. "I need to tell you something," Ryder said. Eli listened closely. "My biker brothers, the whole group, they know what you did." The news spread fast. "Everyone is talking about the boy who saved Lily." Eli felt nervous. "Are they angry at me?" Ryder shook his head quickly. "No, they are amazed. But they want to meet you? All of them?" Eli's breath caught in his throat.
"Oh, why?"
"Because they respect courage," Ryder said. "And what you did, no grown man could have done it better." Eli didn't know how to feel. He had never met a biker group before. He imagined loud engines, leather jackets, and deep voices. People like that usually ignored him or scared him. Why would they want to meet someone like him? As the days went by, Ryder continued gathering information. The fire inspector confirmed that Ile had nothing to do with the attack. Even more, investigators found evidence that someone unrelated had caused the fire. Ryder felt relief, but also anger that people had doubted the boy. Back in the room, Lee practiced walking with the help of a stick the nurse gave him. He moved slowly, tapping the ground lightly before each step. He tried to smile, tried to adapt, but deep inside, fear still lived in him. Sometimes when he lay in bed at night, he whispered to himself, "What will happen to me now?" He had no home, no family, no sight, and no idea where he would go after the hospital discharged him. But he didn't know that outside the hospital, big changes were already moving toward him. The biker community talked nonstop about the brave homeless boy. More people came forward to defend him and share the video. Support started rising like a wave, quiet at first, then stronger each day. People wrote messages, made prayers, and even left gifts at the hospital reception. Nurses had to bring the items into his room in boxes. Eli touched each one slowly, cards, stuffed animals, comforting notes. It was the first time in his life he felt seen. But the greatest surprise had not arrived yet, and when it did, it would shake the entire hospital. Because within a few days, the sound of 300 motorcycles would thunder across the city, coming straight for the boy who lost his sight to save a stranger. 3 days after the fire, Eli sat quietly in his hospital bed, holding a small stuffed bear Lily had brought him. He traced its soft ears with his fingers, imagining what it looked like. Even though he couldn't see, the gift made him feel warm inside. But he also felt nervous. He knew his stay in the hospital wouldn't last forever. What would happen after this? Where would he go? How could he survive without sight? That morning felt strangely calm. Nurses whispered more than usual. Footsteps echoed through the hallways. Something was happening outside the hospital, but no one wanted to tell Eli yet. Ryder was in the parking area, pacing back and forth. He kept checking his watch, wiping his hands on his jeans, and looking at the road leading to the hospital. Lily stood beside him, holding his leather jacket. "Dad, are they really coming?" she asked. Ryder smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. All of them. They want to meet the boy who saved you." Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. She loved the big motorcycles, the shiny helmets, and the loud engines. But this time felt different. This time wasn't about fun. It was about honoring someone special. And then the moment came. At first, it was just a low rumble in the distance, a soft vibration in the ground. People in the parking lot turned their heads, trying to understand the noise. The rumble grew louder, stronger. Fuller windows shook slightly, birds flew up from nearby trees. And then suddenly, rah-rah! The sound filled the air like a thunderstorm. One by one, motorcycles appeared on the road. Not 10, not 50, hundreds. A long line of powerful machines, stretching farther than anyone could see. They rode in perfect formation. Rows and rows of bikers wearing matching jackets, sturdy boots, and helmets with shining visors. The sunlight bounced off chrome handles and polished metal, making the whole street glow. People walking nearby stopped and stared. Cars slowed down. Nurses ran to the windows. Someone whispered, "Who are they?" Another answered, "The Hells Angels, all of them." 300 motorcycles filled the entire street, parked with precision, each loud engine slowly falling silent like a giant beast resting. Ryder felt a tightness in his chest, not fear but pride. His brothers had come. Every single one. Lily waved excitedly as she recognized many familiar faces.
"Dad, there's Uncle Blaze and Iron Jack
and Ghost." Ryder nodded. "They're here for him, Lily." For Illy, the bikers removed their helmets. Their faces looked tough, serious, strong, yet today, their expressions carried something different, deep respect. Inside the hospital, the sound surprised Eli. Even though he couldn't see, he could feel the vibration through the bed. The floor trembled lightly beneath his feet. He tilted his head. "What's happening?" The nurse smiled mysteriously. "You'll see soon, well, you'll feel it." Eli didn't know what that meant. He just sat there holding the bear tighter. Meanwhile, Ryder walked toward the group of 300 bikers. Their leader, a tall man with a silver beard, stepped forward. "We heard everything," he said. "The boy didn't just save Lily. He risked his life. We don't leave bravery unrecognized." Ryder nodded. "Thank you for coming. It means more than you know." The leader placed a hand on Ryder's shoulder. "Let's go meet him." Inside the building, everyone suddenly straightened up. Doctors paused, nurses whispered, patients peeked from their rooms. The hallway became filled with heavy boots and quiet voices as Ryder led the bikers inside. Only a small group entered the hospital, about 20 men, because the hallways were too narrow for all 300. The rest waited outside, standing tall beside their motorcycles. When they reached Ellie's door, Ryder knocked gently. "Kid, you have some visitors." Eli sat up quickly, confused. "Visitors? Who?" Ryder opened the door carefully. Footsteps entered, slow, steady, respectful. Eli's heart beat faster. He could sense the presence of many people. Ryder sat beside him. "Eliv, these are my brothers, the Hells Angels. They came to meet you." Eli froze. He had heard stories of bikers since he was small, some good, some bad. He never imagined they would come to see him. "But why?" he whispered. A deep voice from the front answered, "Because courage deserves honor, even if the world doesn't see it." Another voice added, "You saved a child. That makes you family to us." Eli felt a lump in his throat. No one had ever called him family before. The leader stepped closer. "Kid, you walked into fire with no one behind you. That takes a heart bigger than most men." Eli lowered his head, embarrassed. "I just didn't want her to get hurt." "And that," the leader replied, "is exactly why we're here." Lily came forward and placed her small hand on Eli's. "You're my hero," she whispered. Eli squeezed her hand gently. "I'm glad you're okay." Then Ryder made a decision he had been thinking about for days. He stood up and faced the group. "This boy has no one, no home, no family, no help. But today that changes. He saved my daughter, he saved my world. And I say we return the same." The bikers nodded in unison. Eli felt the room fall silent. He didn't understand what was coming next, but he felt something big was happening. Ryder kneeled beside him and said quietly, with emotion in his voice, "From today, you're not alone anymore." Outside, all 300 bikers stood ready, waiting for the next step that would change Eli's life forever. For the first time since the fire, Eli felt something warm filling the empty space inside his chest. Hope. He didn't fully understand what Ryder meant when he said, "You're not alone anymore," but the tone of his voice made Eli believe it. The room grew quiet. The bikers stood around him respectfully, not too close, giving him space. Their strong presence felt strange but comforting. Eli could sense kindness in the way they breathed, the way they shifted their boots on the floor. They weren't there to scare him. They came to support him. The leader of the group, the man with the silver beard, cleared his throat softly. "Kid," he said in a gentle tone Eli didn't expect from someone so big. "You saved someone important to us. Now we take care of you." Eli held the stuffed bear tighter. "But I don't want to trouble anyone." Ryder knelt down again. "This is not trouble, son. This is thanks." Eli didn't know how to respond. All his life he heard people telling him to move, to leave, to stay away. Now people were telling him he mattered. It was confusing, but beautiful. Lily tugged on Ryder's jacket. "Dade, can we give him my drawing now?" Ryder nodded. "Go ahead." She placed a paper in Eli's hands. It was a drawing she made of him, standing brave with a cape pulling her out of the flames. "I made you a hero picture," she said proudly. Eli smiled, though he could not see it. His fingers traced the lines on the paper. "It's perfect," he whispered. Everyone in the room felt emotion rising. Even a few bikers quietly wiped their eyes when no one was looking. Ryder cleared his throat, trying to stay strong. "Eli," he began again, "we talked to all of us, and we decided something." Eli turned his head slightly, listening with all his heart. Ryder continued, "The hospital bills, your medicine, your checkups, all of that will be covered. No questions, no limits." Eli gasped. "But that's too much." No, Ryder interrupted softly. It's the least we can do. Another biker stepped forward. We're also raising money for you. A lot of people want to help the brave boy from the video. Ely felt tears forming, but he tried his best not to cry. And that's not all, Ryder added. We don't want you going back to the streets. Not ever. Eli swallowed hard. His voice trembled. But where would I go? Ryder took a deep breath. If you want, you can stay with us. With my family. With Lily. With people who care. Eli froze. Live with a family. Have a home. Have people who actually wanted him. His chest felt tight, and for a moment he couldn't speak. He had never been offered a home before. Never once. People usually closed their doors on him. Now someone was opening theirs wide. Before he could find words, Lily gently placed her tiny hand in his. You saved me, she whispered. So now we save you. The simple sentence broke the last wall inside Ely. A tear rolled down his cheek. He nodded slowly. I would like that. I really would. Ryder smiled widely, a smile full of relief and gratitude. The bikers behind him nodded approvingly.
Yes, Lily cheered softly. Now you'll have a bedroom and warm food and blankets.
And, Ryder laughed, slow down, sweetheart. One of the bikers stepped forward and placed something on Eli's lap, a leather jacket small and soft made specially for him. The back had a simple patch, Guardian. Because you protected one of us, the man said. You earned it. Wee Lee touched the jacket slowly. It felt strong, warm, and safe, something he never felt in clothing before. Outside the hospital, the other bikers began organizing. Some made phone calls. Others stood guard. A few contacted charities and support groups. Within an hour, a charity ride was planned. A huge event where all 300 bikers would ride through the city to raise donations for Ellie's future. Word spread fast. News channels wanted interviews. People online were touched by the story. Messages flooded social media praising Eli's bravery. The community that once ignored him was now lifting him higher than he ever imagined. Inside the hospital, a nurse entered with a smile. You have so many gifts at the front desk. We had to bring a trolley, she said. Ely touched each item. Cards, scarves, soft toys, letters from strangers telling him he mattered. For the first time in his life, he felt seen. He felt valued. He felt loved. As the evening sun began to set, Ryder placed a firm but gentle hand on Eli's shoulder. Remember this, he said softly. You didn't lose everything. Sometimes life takes one thing away to give something bigger in return. Eli nodded. He didn't fully understand it yet, but he could feel it. Even without sight, he could finally see a future with a family, with support, with hope. And outside the hospital, 300 motorcycles stood ready, waiting to rise like a shield around the boy who once had no one. The next morning, Ely woke up to a soft humming sound outside his window. Even though he couldn't see, he knew exactly what it was. Hundreds of motorcycles waiting, steady and strong. Their engines didn't sound angry. They sounded protective, like a giant heartbeat surrounding him. Ryder entered the room with a bright voice. Morning, kid. Big day today. Eli sat up slowly. What's happening? Ryder walked closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. Something special. Something for you. Lily peeked from behind her father and giggled. There are so many bikes outside. It looks like a movie. Eli smiled. I wish I could see them. Ryder squeezed his shoulder gently. One day, maybe. But for now, you will feel their support. The nurses helped Ely get ready. They gave him clean clothes, brushed his hair, and placed the leather jacket on his shoulders, the one with the Guardian patch. The jacket felt heavy, but in a good way it felt like strength. As Ryder guided him toward the exit, Ely could sense the warm sunlight on his face. The air smelled like gasoline, leather and hope. Then he heard a deep, respectful cheer. All 300 bikers stood outside, lined up perfectly. When they saw Eli, they didn't shout loudly. They simply tapped their chests with their fists, a silent message of respect. The sound rolled through the air like a wave. Eli's heart pounded. He whispered, They're all here. Ryder answered proudly, Every single one. For you? The leader stepped forward and spoke loudly so everyone could hear. This boy risked his life without thinking twice. Today we ride to honor him and to build a future he never had. The engines began to roar. One at first, then two, then all 300. The ground shook gently under Ellie's feet. Ryder placed a helmet in Eli's hands. Come on, he said warmly. You're riding with me? Eli hesitated. Are you sure? Ryder laughed softly. Kid, you saved my daughter. You saved my world. Riding with me is the smallest thank you I can give. With careful help, Eli climbed onto Ryder's motorcycle. Lily stood beside them, cheering proudly. The bikers lined up in a long formation. People from the city gathered on sidewalks holding signs that said, Support Eli, our hero. No one is invisible. Some held flowers, some held flags, some wiped tears. Then the charity ride began. Ryder's bike led the way, moving slowly so Eli could feel the wind on his face without fear. Bikers followed behind in perfect formation. The sound of 300 engines echoed across streets and alleys. Cars stopped, people clapped, children waved. Eli held onto Ryder tightly. Even though he couldn't see anything, he felt everything. The warmth of the sun, the vibration of the motorcycle, the love from the crowd, the unity of the bikers. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel small. He didn't feel forgotten. He felt like he belonged. The charity ride lasted for hours. Wherever they went, people donated money, clothes, gifts, and messages for Ely. Volunteers stood with buckets, filling them with donations. Every biker carried a small box on the back of their motorcycle. By the end of the ride, every single box was full. When they returned to the hospital park area, Ryder helped Ely off the bike. The leader stepped forward with a large envelope in his hand. "Ali," he said gently, "the people of this city believe in you. Today, we collected enough money to take care of your future for a long time." Alu's lips trembled. "All this for me?"
Yes, Ryder replied. For you?
"Because you deserve a good life." A social worker approached with a warm smile. "Ely, we will help you learn new skills, help you adjust to your vision loss, and help you go to school if you want." Another biker added, "You'll never go hungry again. Not while we're here." Ely covered his face with his hands. He wasn't crying from sadness this time. It was too much kindness at once. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. Ryder pulled him into a gentle hug. "Just say yes to a new life." A later that afternoon, Ryder brought Ely to his home. Lily ran ahead, excited to show him everything.
This is your room,
she said proudly, placing his hand on the door. He touched the soft bed, the warm blankets, the bedside lamp. He couldn't see them, but he felt their comfort. "It's beautiful," he said softly. Lily grinned. "Now you're like my big brother?" From that moment, Eli became part of their family, not by blood, but by courage and love. The bikers visited him every day, bringing food, gifts, and laughter. They taught him how to walk confidently with a guiding stick. They helped him learn new tools and supported him in every step of healing. Life no longer felt scary. Life felt full. Life felt possible. The fire had taken his sight, but it had also opened the door to something bigger, a real family, a real home, and a future he never imagined. And still, one final chapter remained, the moment when Eli would understand the true power of love and kindness. Weeks passed, and Eli's new life slowly began to take shape. Even though he still lived in darkness, everything around him felt brighter than ever. Each morning, he woke up in a soft bed instead of cold pavement. He could smell warm breakfast from the kitchen and hear Lily's cheerful footsteps running through the hallway. Ryder and his wife treated him with gentle care, never once making him feel like a burden. Lily became his constant companion, guiding him around the house, laughing with him, telling him stories, and holding his hand when he practiced walking outside. The bikers visited often, sometimes in small groups, sometimes 20 at a time. They brought him new clothes, audio books, special tools for the blind, and even a therapy dog named Shadow, a calm black Labrador who stayed by Eli's side day and night. Eli found comfort in Shadow's soft fur and the gentle way he nudged his hand. "He knows when you're sad," Ryder explained. "He's trained to help." Shadow quickly became Eli's best friend. The charity money raised from the city was enough to cover Eli's education, training, medical needs, and future living support. A blind training center offered to teach him new skills: how to navigate safely, how to read with touch, how to use special technology to write. At first, Eli was scared. He had spent years believing he could never achieve anything. But with Ryder encouraging him, Lily cheering, and the bikers standing like a protective wall behind him, he slowly began to believe he could build something new. One day, the training center gave him a device that read text aloud. He listened to his first audiobook with wide, amazed eyes. "It's reading," he said with a smile. "I can learn again." Ryder laughed proudly. "Of course you can. You're stronger than you think." With each small achievement, Eli grew more confident. He learned to walk around the neighborhood with Shadow. He learned to memorize sounds and directions. He learned to write messages using voice commands. Life was not easy, but it was fuller, safer, and kinder than anything he ever knew. One sunny afternoon, the biker group organized a community event in the city park to honor Eli publicly. They wanted the entire city to witness the boy who had changed all their hearts. Hundreds of people gathered. Tents were set up, music played, and long lines of motorcycles decorated the park like an iron shield. Ryder guided Eli to the stage, holding his arm gently. Lily walked on his other side, proudly carrying a drawing of him labeled "My Hero." Shadow walked behind them, quiet and loyal. When the crowd saw Eli, they began to clap, slow at first, then louder, then filling the entire park like a wave of gratitude. Some people even stood on benches to see him better. Eli stopped, stunned. "Are they clapping for me?" Ryder smiled. "Yes, every single one." The leader of the biker group stepped up to the microphone. "Today," he began, "we honor a boy with a heart braver than any of us. He ran into fire for a child he did not know. He lost his sight, but he gave us back our faith and kindness." He turned toward Ellie. "You are not invisible, kid, you never were. The world just needed a reminder to open its eyes." The crowd cheered again. Eli didn't know what to say. He clutched Shadow's leash gently and listened to the sound of hundreds of people applauding him. Tears rolled down his cheeks, not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. When it was his turn to speak, Eli stepped forward carefully. Ryder guided his hand to the microphone. His voice shook at first, but soon became steady. "I used to think I was nobody. he said softly. I used to think people didn't see me. I slept on the streets and I was scared every day. But then I heard someone crying for help. I didn't think. I just moved. I didn't know I would lose my sight. But if I had to choose again, I would still save Lily. The crowd grew silent, listening closely. Ely took a deep breath. Now I see something different. I see kindness. I see love. Not with my eyes, but in my heart. I see a family who cares about me. I see people who believe in me. His voice trembled with emotion. Thank you for giving me a life I never thought I could have. The crowd erupted into applause. Many wiped tears. Ryder hugged him tightly. Lily ran to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. You're my hero forever, she whispered. The biker leader placed a small patch in Eli's hand. It was smooth and round. That is our honor patch, he said softly. Only the bravest get it. Eli held it close to his chest. Months later, Eli became a symbol of hope in the community. Schools invited him to speak about courage. Firefighters visited him to thank him personally. People who once walked past him on the streets now greeted him with respect. He had lost his sight, yes, but he had gained something far greater: a family, a community, a future, and a place in the world where he truly belonged. Every night, when he lay in his warm bed with Shadow curled beside him, Ely whispered the same words, I can see now in a different way. Because sometimes, the clearest vision comes not from the eyes, but from the heart.